Hello everyone. I was kind of looking forward to the bigger room actually, but this is actually a cozier room. It's a nicer room, so I think it's a friendlier room. I came down from Australia. You can see Australia there at the top of the world. So it's a pleasure to come and visit you down under. And as Colin just said, that arrow is roughly where I mostly grew up, and that's kind of what the environment looked like, not very much. And over there was my nearest school, and it's about 1,000 kilometres away. And that's the sort of equipment we used to use then. So I was there until I was about 12 or so, and we used the high-frequency shortwave radio. And now I'm in Perth, and that's where Moodle's based. The main Moodle office is based there. When I was in Perth, a lot of stuff happened, but eventually I was working at Curtin University and implementing online learning at that university and trying to improve it. And I've got a background as a computer scientist, and then I went into education, did a PhD, was working on a PhD in education, and developed this kind of framework for what to kind of guide me in the development of online learning tools, and Moodle specifically. So there was a pedagogical referent that I had, a sort of a guiding star. Whenever I had to make a decision about developing something or what I should be doing, I could always turn to my referent, my sort of a summary of the research I'd been reading and the things I've been hearing and learning. And this is that. It sort of boils down to 5 very simple points. And probably to a lot of you, none of this is very new. In fact, a lot of this goes back to Socrates, in fact. So the first thing is all of us are potential teachers as well as learners. And in a collaborative environment, we are both, all the time. The second thing is we learn particularly well from the act of creating or expressing something. This is learning by doing, right? So when you're doing something, making something, that's when a lot of powerful learning happens. You learn a lot just by observing the activity of your peers. And that's a kind of osmotic, cultural type of learning where you learn just from being in a group of people and seeing what they're doing. Fourthly, you learn by understanding the contexts of other people. If you know their backgrounds, your conversations can be richer because you're able to make connections and build upon what they already know, and that's just simple constructivism. And lastly, any learning environment needs to be quite flexible and adaptable so that it can quickly respond to the needs of the participants. And that applies to any sort of classroom, but obviously applies to an online environment. And so Moodle was, as I was working through it, developed according to those principles. The basic concept is if you have people and you use the right software tools, you're able to create a community. And that community is teaching the people. The community can also be improving the software tool that they're using. This model applies in a classroom, and it also applies to the Moodle project. And the software tool in the case of an online classroom is the website or the class that you're in, and in Moodle's case, it's the Moodle software. To make this work, to have the community modifying the tools that they're using, it really helps for it to be open source. Why? Well, with open source software, and I mean true open source software, you have a license attached to the software. Everything's given an open source license. And these things are very rigid, and they build upon the notion of copyright. So if you write some software and I say it's open source, I attach a copyright to it that says, because I wrote it, I have the right to give you the right to download it, to use it, to explore it, to modify, extend. You can distribute it, give it to other people. And you're also free to help with development. You're free to choose your service supplier. You're not tied to one particular company that could fold in some hypothetical global financial collapse. You are free to choose, you can run a business from it, and you can also use something else. We're not trying to tie you in. Open source it's all about being open and giving everybody freedom. It's an enforced form of freedom. And so Moodle is as a platform is an open source project with a very specific goal, to be a course management system, which is a term which is not that much in vogue now. Learning management systems and virtual learning environments and all the arguments over terms are kind of around, but I still think of Moodle as a course management system. There is a core of Moodle. There's a couple of million lines of PHP code, which is the core of the system. Then on top of that, there are modules that are written by all types of people in the community. There are also mods in terms of modifications. Because it's open source, if you just want to change something or tweak something, anybody can do that. On top of that, you have the course design, which is what the teacher or the educator does in creating spaces for learning. And then on top of that, you have the user contributions. All the contributions of the people in that course are also changing the environment. And that's what we focus on. Other things like repositories, student information systems, portfolios, authentication sources, payment systems, conferencing, live sort of video conferencing type stuff, reporting, plagiarism detection software. That's not our core focus. So Moodle tries to integrate with those things to create, so that people can create the environments that they need for any particular situation. And they can be open source or proprietary. I don't care. The world is a mix of both, and so it should be. So in the 10 years since I started Moodle, we've got quite a lot of users now in our community. We've got about 45,000 registered and verified sites. Because anybody can download it and share it, there are a lot more Moodle sites out there. All we know about are the ones where people have hit a button and told us that they are using Moodle. And we have an automatic system that actually checks their website to make sure that it is a Moodle site and continues to be a Moodle site from week to week. So these are verified sites. This is a minimum number.